So we've got some Battlefield 6 breaking news here. As you can see, blog post on the screen, community update, Battlefield Labs Season 2 testing and beyond. I've had a quick scan through this. There is some important information here. You'll be pleased to know we've got details upcoming about 2 maps coming to Battlefield 6 in the near future. I wanted to dive straight into this, live commentary. As I've said, quick scan of this beforehand, but I haven't really read it in detail, so we're just going to go through it together. So here we go. Hello, everyone. We hope you had a wonderful holiday season and are ready to jump back into the action as Battlefield Labs kicks off the new year. As we mentioned in our January update blog, we're using Labs to further polish and refine Season 2 content, validating changes and making final tuning adjustments ahead of launch while continuing to apply what we learn as we evolve the experience. This is the whole reason that Season 2 was delayed. We've got an extension to Season 1. We're getting a little bit of extra content in Season 1 in terms of like cosmetics and battle passes and stuff like that, but no real content. I'm talking like maps and weapons and such. That's the reason Season 1 got extended. That's why Season 2 was delayed. In this next session, we'll be testing content on one of Season 2's new maps, Contaminated. Those of you eagle-eyed on Twitter will have already known that name. But hey, we'll keep moving. We'll be evaluating how vehicle gameplay and aerial presence interact with infantry combat alongside cover and asset placement and objective boundaries. We'll also be testing how the map's unique gameplay mechanics function in live matches, as well as the tools available to players to interact with them. That's essentially one paragraph that says we're testing the gameplay of our brand new map. So all the different things that come into it, infantry gameplay, vehicle gameplay, aerial vehicle gameplay, that's really important for Battlefield 6 because it's an area that's severely lacking in the game at the moment. So this labs test is on Contaminated, one of Season 2's new maps. We've actually got an image of it right here. Now, this is really interesting because that looks like a bit of a mishmash of various different maps. And as you can see here, while we're saving full details on the new map for a later time, we can share that in terms of size, Contaminated falls between Eastwood and Mirac Valley and is comparable to classic Battlefield maps such as St. Quentin Scar, Battlefield 1, or Arras, Battlefield 5. St. Quentin Scar on Breakthrough was actually a pretty big map in Battlefield 1, and Arras was kind of, I don't know, it was like a mid-sized map, but it did support all the different types of gameplay in Battlefield 5. So this image right here, I'm actually getting a bit of Monte Grappa vibes from Battlefield 1, kind of. There's also a little bit of PTSD here, exposure from Battlefield 2042 with the massive mountainside. But honestly, it looked kind of a different map from that, a very different vibe. And as you can see at the bottom here, it looks like a barracks area that we've got, like some kind of like airbase barracks going on over here, maybe a couple of the buildings, and then like a mountainside, a hillside, and then further up the top here, these look like proper bunkers that airplanes go into, or like jets and support vehicles and stuff like that. So really interesting look at that map. It's a very different vibe from what we've got in Battlefield 6 at the moment. If I just scroll back up here, it says between Eastwood and Mirac Valley. So Mirac Valley being the biggest map in Battlefield 6, arguably still not that big of a Battlefield map, and Eastwood definitely not a big map, but certainly bigger than like Empire State, for example. It's certainly a bigger map than what we've got so far in Battlefield 6, and at least the biome is kind of cool. Like, again, it's standing out as something a bit different. A little bit of snow there, although it looks like the play area is probably going to be restricted down it. I don't think we're going to be up in the mountains, so if you're a recon player imagining yourself sitting up here, I don't think you're going to be doing that. But that looks like an interesting map, and that's just one of them that's coming with Season 2. So Contaminated, Season 2 map. This is the first image we're getting of it. So here we go, a bit more information below. Alongside our Season 2 map testing, upcoming Battlefield Lab sessions will also include a handful of additional gameplay-focused tests. This includes early testing of the AH-6 Little Bird, the return of the Little Bird, ahead of its planned arrival in Season 2, allowing us to evaluate how it fits within the broader vehicle ecosystem and how it performs across different combat scenarios. So this kind of feeds into what they were talking about up here, where we're evaluating vehicle gameplay and aerial presence. That seems to be in the form with like the Little Bird coming into the mix alongside like attack choppers, transport choppers, and of course jets. It doesn't say that jets are going to be on this map. It just says aerial presence. So, but looking at it, I mean, if it's not a big enough map to support jet gameplay, I can't just hope they don't put it on there and we just stick with like helicopters. Maybe it could be a cool map actually if it was just the Little Bird and like a transport chopper, no attack choppers. that would kind of make it a little bit different, because then you'd have like a really nimble little bird in the sky with like a good pilot, and then the transport chopper dropping people off at different points across the map. That would be kind of cool. I'd be interested to see that. But it's good to see that they're going to test this in labs beforehand. We are quite close to the launch of Season 2. We're, what, under a month away? I mean, obviously, we got it delayed. We should already be playing it, but we're not. We are a month away. So all of this kind of testing, the upcoming sessions, gameplay-focused stuff, we're not that far away from Season 2. So to be honest, in my head, I don't really know how much of a difference this kind of labs testing, at least at this stage with this content, is really going to make. Because if it comes out that this map is not, let's say like there's an area of the map that's really not very well designed, I don't think that's going to get restructured in under a month. Like, knowing that from previous Battlefield titles, obviously played the franchise for over a decade and a half now, I know how long it takes for the dev team to make a map for a Battlefield game. So if an area of the map needed to be restructured, for example, because the gameplay wasn't very good in that area, I don't know if that would really be able to be done in under a month. But if it comes to like balancing of like different vehicles, like the Little Bird and, you know, some of the weapons that they've got on that, and maybe the new weapons that are going to come with Season 2, of course, we're going to get some new primary weapons as well. So maybe that kind of stuff they can sort of focus on and they can tweak in the next couple of weeks before the launch of Season 2. But in terms of like drastic changes, if the content isn't that great, I don't really see that happening. But anyway, we'll move on to the next section of the blog post, because this is really interesting. On the horizon, looking further ahead, we'll be running more exploratory tests around aircraft and vehicle combat systems. This is great news. I've been saying for the best part of since launch, basically, that the vehicle gameplay experience in Battlefield 6 is not up to par with the games in the franchise that this game is based on, which is Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. They are literally the gold standard of the games in this franchise. Aircraft, vehicle combat in this game is nowhere near deep enough, and I think the jets is probably the worst part of it, but in general, the vehicles need to have more depth to their gameplay. So this includes initial testing of an aircraft radar, an important part of the aircraft gameplay experience, and a system we're actively evaluating as part of future air combat improvements. So most previous Battlefield games have had aircraft radar in it from the launch. We're just now getting that, or will be getting that in Battlefield 6, looking further ahead. So this is probably going to be in Season 2. I don't think it's going to be at the launch of Season 2 based on the wording here in this paragraph. But the fact that they've even mentioned that aircraft radar is coming, again, my best friend Silk, who's one of the best jet pilots in the world, he's definitely going to be happy about that. So it's good to see that once again they are thinking about this stuff. What's disappointing is that the game didn't have it in the first place. But hey, better late than never, I guess. Let's move on. In parallel, we'll be exploring a tuning package focused on rocket and vehicle interactions, including early adjustments to weapons such as RPGs and tow launchers, as well as vehicle handling considerations when countering rockets. Again, this feeds into the overall vehicle combat systems in the game, the interaction between infantry and vehicles. The game is very heavy on the infantry gameplay side at the moment, and I don't think you can say the infantry gameplay is bad in Battlefield 6, but again, it lacks the depth of previous iterations of the franchise, and that's sort of accentuated by the interaction between vehicles. Vehicles are a big part of the Battlefield formula, and they're just severely lacking at the moment. So once again, if we've got work being done by the dev team and tests happening in labs that are going to be focused on these interactions between vehicles and infantry, that's really, really good as well. Future testing will also validate improvements we're making to hit registration and overall combat consistency, as it is one of the more complex areas of development. We spoke with lead producer David Serland, who emphasized that, quote, "These issues are rarely tied to a single change, but instead require careful iteration across multiple systems, extensive testing, and time to validate results at scale." So this is all about hit registration and latency, dying around corners, dying behind cover, getting those weird moments where you're literally pummeling bullets into an enemy player and they don't register, and then they turn around and just shoot you straight away and you die. All that kind of stuff goes into this paragraph right here. Good to hear that we've heard from David Serland. I know that he was away over the Christmas break, along with all the other developers. So it's nice to hear, again, a name sort of being put to this stuff, which is great. And it sounds like David's going to be doing a lot of stuff within labs, because this is all about labs. But again, really important, because right now, the gameplay, like the infantry gameplay for Battlefield 6 is really good, and then you get into a server where the latency is terrible and you get bad hit reg and it just all falls apart and it gets really frustrating. And it seems to happen at random as well, which is even more frustrating. So the fact that Labs is going to be used to kind of sort these kind of situations out is really good. Once again, it's frustrating that we've had these issues in the franchise before and we're experiencing them yet again in another game. But hey, better late than never. This work includes a number of changes currently in development, with some improvements planned to arrive earlier in Season 2 and additional, more impactful updates in the coming months. Battlefield Labs will help us test, iterate, and validate these improvements as they progress, including scenarios where players may be eliminated after reaching cover, often referred to death behind cover or desync-related behavior. Literally just spoken about this in the previous paragraph. Got a bit of word vomit going on today. I think I'm just a little bit excited because I didn't really expect to be making this video today, but here we are. So yeah, pretty much everything I was talking about here also applies here. It means some plans will arrive earlier in Season 2 and other stuff coming in coming months. So that could be like February, March, April time. I know that sounds pretty bad when we're in January and we've got a bit of a content drought, but hey, the world of Battlefield moves a bit slower than the rest of the world. We also have plans to bring a fan-favorite map from Battlefield 4 into the Battlefield Labs prior to it going live in a future season, Golmud Railway. Okay, so let's read that again. We also have plans to bring a fan-favorite map from Battlefield 4, awesome, into Battlefield Labs prior to it going live in a future season, Golmud Railway. That doesn't sound like Golmud Railway for Season 2. That sounds like Golmud Railway for beyond Season 2. Probably Season 3, based on the vagueness of this statement right here. Okay, let's take that little bit out of the equation. They're bringing back Golmud Railway, which that's, to me, is a good thing because it's an absolutely huge map that focuses more on vehicle gameplay than it does infantry gameplay. And having been part of this community since launch, I think the feedback has been pretty unanimous that Battlefield 6's maps are not big enough and the game doesn't focus enough on vehicle gameplay across certain maps. Golmud Railway is probably one of the biggest maps you could have brought back for vehicle gameplay, so that's pretty awesome. Golmud Railway is being rebuilt for today's Battlefield, not simply ported forward. Our goal is to preserve what made the map so memorable in Battlefield 4, particularly its combined arms gameplay, whilst improving how it plays and supports Battlefield 6's systems. Golmud is planned to be the largest Battlefield 6 map to date, giving us the opportunity to expand gameplay on a larger scale. Again, reiterating what we said from here, the largest Battlefield 6 map to date. Everyone said at launch that Mirak Valley was going to be the biggest map, and it is the biggest map, but realistically, most of the gameplay is happening focused in the middle, so it doesn't feel like the biggest map. Golmud Railway kind of actually has a similar thing for that, really. A lot of the gameplay is focused in the middle, but there's so much space on Golmud Railway that at least you can have prolonged vehicle gameplay combat without infantry just like looking from a roof and then firing loads of RPGs. Again, this kind of all fits in, actually. If we read back up here talking about like vehicle improvements and hit reg detection and the balance between infantry and vehicle gameplay, and then you come down here to talk about Golmud Railway, it kind of all falls into place. If they do all this testing and changes for vehicle gameplay before they launch Golmud Railway, it's probably going to end up playing a lot better than if they launched Golmud Railway right now and we had to deal with the current state of Battlefield 6's vehicle to infantry gameplay. It would be probably not that great. So that's really interesting, though. That's the second map that we now know about that's coming to Battlefield 6 in the future. Golmud Railway from Battlefield 4. Great to see them leaning back in to the older parts of the franchise and bringing a map forwards. For me, Golmud Railway isn't actually the most memorable map from Battlefield 4. I can think of quite a few others that I would have preferred, but I can't say that it wasn't a popular map because it definitely was a popular map. It's got jet gameplay, it's got helicopter gameplay, it's got ground vehicle gameplay with MBTs and IFVs, and it's got infantry gameplay all mixed in, combined arms combat on a massive map that's what Battlefield is known for. So yeah, I can't really say that it's a bad choice. It's definitely a good one. We're bringing Golmud into Battlefield Labs early, as this will be a multi-session project. Through Labs, we want to test changes such as larger flight space, interesting, increased cover for aircraft, and other adjustments as the map evolves over time. Increased cover for aircraft, this is an issue for literally every map currently in Battlefield 6. There's no way for aircrafts to escape combat once they've done some damage, move, go behind a hill, heal up, and come back out again. They just become magnets for bullets, RPGs, enemy vehicles. There's no way to escape the combat once you're part of it. A good pilot should be able to move around, do some damage, recoup, and then go back in again. You can't really do that on any Battlefield 6 maps at the moment. So again, the fact that they're bringing this up, that they want to make sure that the map supports that kind of gameplay, that's really awesome. I'd hope that that kind of thing right there could be transferred back to other maps in the game, because Mirak Valley could do with a lot more vehicle cover, increased cover for aircraft. It could do with a lot more of that. If they were able to take some of their learnings from labs and then throw that back, that would be awesome. We'll share more details on timing and how to take part in upcoming play sessions at a later date. Interesting. Okay, now we're moving into RedSec stuff. Battle Royale solos testing. We're also continuing internal and exploratory testing around Battle Royale solo play as we evaluate how different player configurations impact pacing, balance, and the overall Battle Royale experience. This work is focused on understanding where solo play can best fit within the broader Battle Royale roster, including how it affects match flow, survivability, and long-term engagement when featured alongside other Battle Royale experiences. These tests are part of an ongoing effort to make informed decisions about how Battle Royale is structured and presented over time, rather than committing to a single permanent configuration. That's an interesting way of saying we're testing solos and we're not quite sure how to put it into RedSec at the moment. I mean, I don't really blame them. RedSec is very different from some of the other Battle Royale offerings because you have to consider the fact that there are armored vehicles in the game. That's something that not many other Battle Royales do, and Battlefield chose to do. So having solos fitting into that, having one person in a heavy vehicle, and then you've got, you need the right equipment to deal with that. That is definitely something I can think that this statement sort of fits into. Any future player-facing testing would be approached with the goal of learning and validation, and we'll share more details ahead of time if and when those tests are planned. As always, when testing does take place, clear guidance on participation and feedback, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they're going to test Battle Royale solos at some point in the future, and then it's all about just getting involved. So, yeah, great. This is actually a really interesting update for Labs. The fact that it's tied to Battlefield Labs, in my brain, is actually a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit anticlimactic, I guess, because I was kind of hoping that Battlefield would be on the front foot for Battlefield 6 going into the live service, and that they may not need Labs in order to test content and test iterations of content to make sure it's good before it goes into the game. I mean, in my head, maybe it just shows that they're lacking confidence a little bit, and that they want the they want feedback, and they want they just want affirmation that they're doing a good job. In my head, like, if they were on the front foot, I really think they should have been after the launch that they had. Season 1 wasn't great, and it didn't have anywhere near enough content. So they've kind of gone away, sort of licking their wounds a little bit, and then they're coming back with Labs, and then we're testing the first map, then we're testing Golmud Railway, we're testing all the vehicle stuff. I mean, in my head, it's good that they're testing it, but it also sort of shows a lack of confidence that they're like, are we going in? They're looking for the answer. Are we going in the right direction here? Which to me signifies that they didn't quite go in the right direction with Battlefield 6 when it launched. And I think most of us can agree with that anyway. But yes, Contaminated, or Contamination, it's called Contaminated, is one of the Season 2 maps. That suggests there will be others in the near future that we will get to see, maybe, perhaps, not sure. That will be tested in labs soon. And then Golmud Railway is something that will be coming in a future season. There you go. That's the information. So people that wanted to know about content coming for Battlefield 6, myself included, we now have at least a little bit more information on the horizon. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Appreciate you. Catch you soon.